It is very
to...
vibey and trippy. I could put this on in the background at a party.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
In full auto mode, and it like be the thing on the TV.
Kenny has
Back
a
in the
lot
days
of
of, like-
experience with parties. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Hello.
And this is episode 392. Question of the week. Who is the best video game sidekick?
Luigi. I said it first. You can't take it. I said it first. You can't take it.
Why did y'all both say that when that's not the correct answer?
That is 100% the correct answer.
He's classic and amazing.
I'll tell you why. It's because people like you that put him down and don't believe in the Luiginator. He's always gotten the shaft. It's always Mario in the spotlight.
Yes!
Okay,
The
well,
far
Luigi has
brother
stuff
Mario brother.
He's got something to offer. He's a ghost
He does.
hunter, a ghost buster, some might even call him. And
Better
he's green.
color scheme.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great personality.
See,
And better jump.
I don't even think that Luigi's the best sidekick in the Mario universe. Like, I think Yoshi is a better sidekick than
Is he
Luigi.
a sidekick? He's a vehicle.
Absolutely, especially
He's
in
a
Super
vehicle.
Mario World.
He's a vehicle.
He's a vehicle.
Not for Kenny. I don't want to get into that.
He's a
but
babysitter.
Kenny doesn't know how to treat Yoshi. He's a. Did you say babysitter?
Yoshi's Island. Yeah.
Oh, never been there.
You're carrying baby Mario.
Okay, let me give you another. Listen, Kingdom Hearts is not my favorite, but Donald as mage and Goofy as a defensive tank and their humor together was really impressive when we revisited it. It might be recency bias, but
No, that's a good answer. That is two answers, though.
That's not a
Sure.
sidekick. Yeah, you got to pick one.
well, then it's obviously Donald. He's far superior. And a mage.
Yeah.
Until just recently, one of the most powerful mages in the Final Fantasy universe, apparently.
Oh, you know who else is a good sidekick? The Last of Us. What's her name?
The
What's her
Last of Us, what's her name? Joel and
God.
Ellie. And Ellie.
Ellie.
Joel
I
and
thought-
Ellie.
Ellie's a good sidekick.
She is a good sidekick?
Is
Is
she the sidekick?
right,
Yeah.
or is Joel?
She's the
Okay,
sidekick.
but is she better than Atreus from God of War, which was
Yes.
phenomenal? He was
Great.
great to have.
I enjoyed that experience. I enjoyed him as a sidekick, but he was like half the game annoying me, and he wouldn't shut up.
Or a level above that,
You need to spank.
Tails.
You hate Tails, though. What are you talking about?
Miles Prower?
I don't.
Prowler?
I love
Prowler?
Tails.
Miles Prowess.
There's a lot of good sidekicks out there, far better than Luigi. If you've got someone that's better than Luigi, they can let us know, Kenny?
They can. Yeah. Come find us and tell us all about it in our Discord
Find
channel.
us.
Find us.
Find us. You got to hunt us down.
Tubular. Like in our retro game of the week. IS internal section.
Overview.
Internal Section is a game published by Square, developed
So it's an
by Positron. It is not an RPG, unless by RPG you mean rocket-propelled globular. This game is a tube shooter, so it is a
Poop tube.
shooter on rails where you're inside and navigating within a tube. Think sort of, I don't know, the mini game in Sonic, but all the way around.
Yeah, that one's a half pipe,
Where,
but
yeah, where you're moving along a pipe, but a full actual pipe, and things are moving towards you, and you're shooting them. Sort of a shoot 'em up, but instead of the like top down and falling in front of you or horizontal, you're like inside a space and moving forward in it. I only describe so much because it's a really unique genre. I know there's some other games that do this sort of shtick, but it's not a very common thing.
Two things. One,
Two things.
related to the genre, we do not have the greatest reputation with shooters on this podcast.
shoot 'em ups. Yeah, no, we don't.
We've got guys, particularly when it comes to space shooters, that don't gel with them often.
It's, I don't know if it's the genre
That's a bold
itself.
way of saying it.
I think it's the
Yeah.
games we've played.
Wow.
that have-
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, but that is one comment that I wanted to make, and then two, Square. Can we
I know.
talk about this
What?
just a little bit? Because Square was obviously Square during this era was my bread and butter, but I think this was still early enough. This was before the merger where they were trying stuff other than RPGs, trying to see if they could do it. Now I think they're resigned to their fate. They know that, hey, we're just going to do RPGs. But
Sure, they know their stuff.
at this time, right around this time, not only with IS internal section, but Nolan, they were also behind Einhander, which we've played on the show.
Which makes
they-
more sense than this
Yes,
to me, though.
yes.
But
They
like,
published a lot of stuff. I mean, they weren't the developers here. It wasn't like an internal team. That would have been more surprising.
Sure.
But like,
I wonder how the partnership happened. Like, if they commissioned this game, or if someone was like, "Hey, we need a publisher," and Square was like, "Yeah, we're experimental when we're not doing our normal thing."
I would guess more the second, just because of the nature of the game and how unique it is. But I have no idea.
Yeah.
Regardless, this game came out pre-2000. This was 1999. And if you haven't heard of it, there's a lot of reasons for it, but mostly because it never got released here in the States. This is a Japanese-only exclusive game for the PlayStation.
Which historically for us is either a cool thing, like there's like a cult following here and there's something special about it.
Mother 3.
Correct?
Yeah, Japanese-only games I feel like fall
Right.
into categories. You got weird as all get out, just like too much for America. Hard, like too hard for
Sure.
us.
Or
Just full-on incomprehensible, because sometimes Japanese does that, and bad. Sometimes just a game wasn't good enough to get over here, and I didn't know which one of those this was going to be.
but it will likely fall squarely into at least one of the categories.
Second segue. Well done.
Gameplay.
This is one of the most obscure games I think we've ever played, and we already
Whoa.
covered it in overview. But as we start talking about the gameplay, which is relatively straightforward, it's still so unique. So I want to start by talking about the whole tube format,
Sure.
the tube shooter format. Like, yeah, on rails is the like branch I would put this in of shoot 'em up, but if it feels so different with the tube environment. And you already mentioned it, Kenny, but I said it reminds me of that Sonic bonus stage, in that it's like you're just going forward at a certain speed and you're having to deal with the obstacles and enemies that are thrown at you. So it's not like crazy in its presentation. I just can't name you a lot of other tube shooters, and I didn't even know that was a genre.
There's a little bit of twist here, though, because when we even talk about tubes, and specifically like some of those mini games that people are going to be more familiar with, which is why we've referenced them, you tend to have freedom to kind of move freely wherever you want within the space that you're given to move around obstacles. You don't get that here. You sort of kind of do, in that there's like a little implied shift to your avatar as it moves. But instead of your character moving around physically in the tube, the orientation stays on you. So as you move left and right, what actually happens is the
I see
entire
what you're
tube instead is twisting on the screen, which just, it doesn't feel like a big difference, but in terms of how it makes you feel and what it does to my tummy, it's a
Dude.
very big difference.
Yes.
Y'all got nauseous this week?
Yeah, I was going to save it for later, but yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, because it's not only are you moving on that. Yes, the tube is technically moving, but the idea here is that you're moving on a plane, on a single plane rather than a three-dimensional environment. Forward and back have no bearing on the on the majority of these stages.
You're going side to side at a fixed forward momentum.
Yes, but not only that, things are rushing at you, and everything is kaleidoscopic, and it is
Busy.
That's a good word, because there's colors and
shapes.
Graphics.
You don't have
and shapes.
You don't have like skins to these things. Like even your ship is just some a polygon. And
yeah, it's like it's not a shader. It's just flat. Like it's flat graphic style. Yeah.
But it's a lot, and it's a lot coming at you at all times. Not only are ships typically coming either from the from behind you into the foreground, or they're coming,
but also
from
forward.
from way out there
from the tube,
and they stay in the tube for a limited amount of time. They're shooting at you, so you're having to dodge them as they're coming in, dodge them as they're leaving, dodge their bullets, and if you're not Kenny, you're able to cycle through a variety of different weapons in order to take out these opponents.
We'll get to the weapons, but I don't know that people fully realize how trippy this is even, because this tube also isn't opaque. It's clear. You can see through it. So not only are you moving and you're shooting projectiles, things are moving at you that you have to dodge and being shot at you that you have to dodge that are all different. But the background behind you, as well as the tube itself, also have shifting and moving colors that are changing as you progress through the level. You said like a kaleidoscope. I'm going to say I don't know, but it's like an acid trip.
You do know that.
Oh, Nolan, you know?
I can help everybody right now. The old school Windows Media Player visual screen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's like that became a weird shooter.
It's like you entered that and now you're playing a game inside of it.
Or it's the old, it was Winamp thing? Is that what it was called? But you've got like the visualizers when you're playing music.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's the same thing.
And those are changing based on music, which there's reasons that you feel like that's a thing in this game, and we'll talk about those too.
Yeah, we'll talk about the music later. We'll talk about the weapons now, even though Kenny didn't want to when I opened up the conversation.
We came back to it.
Other than the tube being the main gameplay mechanic, the other main gameplay mechanic is that you don't just have one shot. There are no power-ups to collect, but from the start of the game till the very end, you have 12 different shots, shot types that are named after the Chinese zodiac signs. So they're animal-based, and you're able to cycle through these using R1 and L1, again, if you're anyone but Kenny.
Kenny, what was the issue?
I just didn't know it existed. I was shooting and using the eraser bomb things and vibing and playing the game. And I think I had hit other buttons, but maybe I had hit the the triggers instead of the bumpers, and just never hit the bumpers. And so
also user error.
I figured you could like swap weapons between levels, but then once you picked your weapon, you were just using it, which is not how it works at all.
We're talking to the guy that on shooters is often pressing the button for every shot that he wants to do. Thankfully, this time
definitely started.
You did
doing
start that way, but praise God, you held it down, and I'm so thankful, because if you would have not found the other weapon types and would have been slamming down that button the whole time, I would have had to delete the video.
The fact
it was a great first play.
I like this setup, and you talked about the history that we have with shooters. I don't hate the power up format. What I hate about it is when a game punishes you to a point of no progression when you lose all your power ups. It's hard. And sometimes unfair in the way that that's set up. But in this one, just giving you 12 different, like fundamentally different, like shots is awesome. And I love that setup. And I definitely have a favorite. But I do think that I was going to give them props, but I think that they could have done more for the situational aspect of cycling through them. You can get by with 2, I think, 3 maybe, without even having to mess with them. It's kind of a preference thing, which is also nice. But in terms of like what the game's throwing at you, I feel like once you settle on like your favorite, I wasn't swapping as much as I wanted to. I think they could have done better about like encouraging certain weapon usage.
I think we agree, but I also, there's another facet to that. Again, I'm with you in that I like the idea. I do not like the implementation. I think having 12 is cool, but having to swap through them one at a time on a wheel, you know, you're either going to the left or going to the right, takes far too much time and is something you have to focus on while all of this mania is going on visually.
And it's an additional visual on the
it's
like
massive.
The middle of the screen, dude.
The middle of the screen.
It's an
Like, they could've
overlay
just
that
cycled
like
in the
sits right on top of
corner.
everything.
And by the time you find the one that you want, you're going to be
Snake.
hit by something, and so you're going to die.
Sure.
But I do agree. I kind of like the idea of having different shots and having them at all times. Even if you die, you have them all from the get-go right again. Let's talk about not all of them, but which ones, which two stood out to you. Why did you like it?
Snake.
Easy favorite. Oh, go ahead.
Snake.
You said?
What
Yeah,
does Snake do?
really-
Because that was not one of mine.
That was the lasery one.
Yeah, it's the lasery
It
one.
looks like a snake.
Blue?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Lasery one that seems like kind of
Really?
whack at first, but really useful in like the boss fights. And it has a homing mechanic to it as well,
Okay.
so you can kind of focus on dodging.
And you
Also
use
like
that
rap.
even on the majority of the normal stages?
Yeah, I love. Yeah,
Interesting.
it was useful just throwing it out there because it would just hit a bunch of stuff. It was nice.
Kenny?
Did not love Snake. Didn't hate it. It was novel, but it was not my bread and butter. My bread and butter was Bird.
Guys, we have...
Ugh!
Hey, hold on. Before he says... This is interesting because we all played the same game, but we all used a different primary weapon. Maybe
do
they
like
were onto
that.
something. That's
But
something
I'll
creative.
judge you on the
Of course.
bird.
Why did you use Bird?
No, Bird was
So
great.
chaotic.
It is chaotic, but it was really good at cleaning up
Worst.
all of the pieces of things. So I did a lot better at getting bonuses, and like little stuff
Okay.
didn't escape me. So the birds, it's sort of like a flock of birds around you that are sort of like hovering, and then they individually like go out and target the things you need. And so you didn't have to worry about aiming; you just had to worry about moving and being where you needed to be. So I could just keep that one on and focus on dodging, which is where I'm worse. When I'm dying, it's because I'm hitting stuff. And so because I didn't have to think about both things, I did a lot better.
Bird makes sense for you.
Letting the birds kind of figure stuff out.
But on God, that's the worst.
Loved Bird.
All right, Dustin.
Monkey. Monkey
Okay.
was my most used by far, and I'm surprised it's not more people's most used. No, Monkey...
Is Monkey the spread one?
Monkey had a straight shot, but it also had ones. It had three. I think it has
the two
three beams
side
that would go
ones.
around the tube at the same time. So it's multiple shots. You know, you're able to do one down the middle, and then you've got three that are going around the ring. And most of these enemies I found were around the ring of the tube. Most weren't in the center. And so that allowed me to wipe up most of the enemies while being able to focus on dodging. But I use Monkey primarily.
My other favorite is Tiger. I had to look at the name of it.
No crossover.
Well, there's so many. Tiger's cool. It's the one that's like an electricity ball, and
Oh,
it like
yeah, I
will,
love
the
Tiger.
tendrils will like hit
Catch on.
stuff.
Yep.
That reminded me of a PoE build, and I liked that about it. Yeah.
The
like lightning
other
ball.
one that I liked was Dragon. It's just
Dude,
the up close
yeah.
fire burst.
I wanted Dragon to be good, but
Bosses.
it's the range.
The
I hate it.
bosses.
Yeah, better for bosses for sure.
Yeah, you can
Not a lot of good in the tube most of the
not
time.
good in the tube because the enemies are too far away from you, and if they're that close, you're gonna die. But yeah, bosses, which maybe it is time, I don't know, but we've talked about bosses a little bit. I think it's important because the bosses at the end of these levels, by the way, you've got 8 levels, each are divided into 4 substages, A, B, C, D, and then at the end of that you
then a boss.
have a boss fight. And
Yeah, in the terminal.
in the terminal, which is different. So that is the only
Right.
time where up and down do matter. Left and right do as well. You're in a full 3D environment where the boss is typically in the center and you're able to move close to it, far back off of it, left and right around it. And that is when that's why using Dragon was good for me there, because I could get up on it close, do tons of damage, and then back off when it started attacking.
And for as
got it.
for as varied as those are, there's still a ton more. You had disc shooters, you had normal lasers, you had homing stuff, you had a weird thing that was like an AoE that like shot out in front of you and then like hit everything in a giant like area.
Circle thing?
Horse. Yeah, the circle thing.
I like-
there was a huge variety of play styles and weapons.
I
here.
liked this yellow disc that would go out just straight ahead, but it had some
Frisbee.
girth to it, and it would not allow any bullets past it. So when it went, it would take out anything in its way, which was nice.
I would like to submit Rabbit as the worst one.
Hold on.
It's
First
funny.
of all, let's not be
bouncy
rude
one?
about rabbits.
No,
Secondly,
come on.
it's good for hitting some things in the center of the screen.
It just bounces.
Yeah.
Like it hops over.
I think better
and-
for for bosses than in the tube. It's not an in the tube kind of weapon.
Now the bosses though,
Yep.
I really enjoy the break in the game.
The change
style.
of gameplay. Yeah.
Yes, it's
They really needed to break it up. It was very important they put those in there.
yeah, and so instead of a tube shooter, it turns into the cylindrical shooter, and had to be inspiration. I was when I was preparing for the for this podcast, I was like, I played a game on the PS4. It was an indie game, and it was a cylindrical shooter that was like that the whole time. It just dawned on me what to Google to find it. It's called Resogun, and it's fantastic. And so I really liked. I was surprised to see that when you get into the boss arena in the terminal, it's that format, and I really enjoyed those. Again, though, just like in the tube, I wanted some more variety, some more challenge is actually what I'm talking about, a challenge, because it just ends up being a little bland.
I want to bring up, just because I know that our community will say something if we don't. I don't think any of us have any experience with it, but you saying, what was it, Resogun?
Resogun, which you're going to say Res.
I'm going to say Rez, because
Riz.
Rez is a game that this game, IS, made a lot of people think of this week because it's a musical rail shooter, so there's some similarities there.
Yeah.
So again, if at this point in the podcast you have no idea how to visualize what we're talking about, maybe think about Rez or something like that, or Resogun. Anything with
Resogun.
Rez or Riz in it, and
Riz, yeah.
you might have the right idea there.
But am I alone in that? Did y'all feel like the bosses were a good challenge or just there?
I wanted what you wanted. I think they were necessary for breaking things up, and so I appreciated them when they came. I'm glad they were different from one each other, at least in a couple of ways. But I also wanted more, I don't know, tactic strategy. I felt like having all these weapons, you'd kind of said the same thing, Nolan, like made me feel like I wanted to be thinking more accurately about which ones I used. And there is some of that. Some work better in the tube and some work better on bosses, but generally you can make anything work. And you kind of just go in and do your thing. I wish there was more overt, like, oh no, this thing is coming, I better swap to this one weapon in time kind of interactions, kind of more rock, paper, scissors-y.
I wish they would have Mega Man'd the bosses, where there was one
Exactly.
particular weapon that that was the one to go to. And so in your exploration of it, you would be figuring those things out.
I like that. Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that idea. I did feel
Yeah.
like they were too samey, and it's like, just find one that works for you and avoid all of these bullets.
Yeah.
So
and their best answer to variety in the stage is like obstacles that they throw at you that are really annoying and not
I don't mind those, but
I like some of the obstacles.
I
yeah.
want them, but all they did was it just
It's at
felt
the
lazy.
end of each. It's at the end of each substage.
Yeah,
you're
it's like
able-
a dodge all this or get screwed kind of thing, which is great. And I would have liked that if they weren't just, I don't know, just kind of thrown on there.
Aged.
Simple games like this, as in straightforward, age really well. At least they don't age like in the game itself. I could easily see a game come out today on a phone. Maybe the motion is motion instead of your controller, but where you're going down a tube, shooting stuff, dodging bullets, and people would pick it up and play it. Like the mechanics of how this game works age really well.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shoot. I think well, not all shooters. So I
No.
guess simplistic shooters can age really well. That's why even like some of those arcade shooters or just simple left to right shooters have. But see, the reason why I'm conflicted is because yes, I think mechanically it can age very well, but I think when you put this whole other filter on it, which they did, of this like stripped down, psychedelic, kaleidoscopic, synesthetic player interactions, I think that is a whole nother thing that makes it a lot smaller of an audience that is going to be drawn to it today.
It's niche, like within the shmup genre. Like it's yes, it's simplistic and that part ages well. When a shooter doesn't age well for me is when they break up the flow of the speed of the game. Like I like shooters that let you go through it, and sure you can like fail or whatever if there's like lives or something, or they take away your power-ups, which is not my favorite. And this one does a good job of that. Like it's just, and it's seamless from stage to stage. We didn't mention that, but like it just takes you through the tube deeper, I guess.
The sub-stages at least. It has a hard
sure.
cut at the end of the level.
Yeah. Right. So I like that, and I do think that part ages well, but I'm with Dustin. Like, who's choosing this over the other shooters that came out in that year, which I don't know, but there were some.
Sure. Again, I think it's that whole like drug trip thing that puts it on a different level of like not everyone's coming back to it, or it doesn't have the largest audience.
No, it's a very unique game. It's very vibey, and it's not going to feel like your typical game in a lot of ways, and that'll appeal to some people, but not to some others. Let's take a journey real quick. Imagine for a second we're all Japanese and the year is 1999, and we're playing this game at home on our couch on original hardware.
Yeah.
How cool is it that instead of just the game soundtrack, which you can listen to and we should talk about some, but that if you wanted, you could pull out your collection of CDs, pop one of those into the game, and get your own background music that plays while you play through this game.
Really cool.
I think that's a cool idea for this game. This game is heavy on the music, is impacting the environment and the colors, and so for that to be able to carry over to games that you or albums that you pop in, CDs that you pop in, are cool. I think though it ages poorly because most people aren't playing this on original hardware, and most people don't have the ability to do that.
I know what a CD is.
And don't know what a CD is.
Right.
And it's,
people, you can't integrate your Spotify playlist with it.
And it's not not the
what are you
same
gonna do?
to just mute the emulator and play your song, because the thing that was key here is that it is impacting what you're seeing. If not, and we've wondered about this, if not the enemy patterns and what you're having to face as well.
Yeah, I think that's really cutting edge for the year that this came out. Like that's pretty impressive. Baby. And it feels to me like the driving factor why Square specifically put this out. Because it's so novel that it feels like the core of the game to me. And I'll explain what I mean. Every other aspect, now that we're in aged and we're going to talk about graphics in a sec, every other aspect of the game feels naked, stripped down, bland, lacking, unfinished to me. Maybe not to y'all.
Experimental is what I would say.
Definitely experimental, but I'll even say that I feel like they cut corners on some of the other aspects of the game. But this mechanic is like the only game maybe that we know of, at least, that did this. And it's cool, but like, I don't know if that's the only selling point for the game for me.
Yeah,
we're talking about aging.
It's definitely super novel. The popping the disc into a different disc thing felt cool at the time. Obviously, just on practical ways, doesn't age forward well today, because even if you've got the original hardware, you may not have a giant collection of CDs sitting next to you that you also want to take the time to swap into your PlayStation. But like, yeah, I don't know. I love the experimental nature of it, and I think that it adds some charm. And so, though it may not age on like a practical level, it ages on sort of like a nostalgia level for me of like, oh, this is a cool, neat little quirky discovery, and I love it.
They really were leaning on the like presentation, both music and visuals, because I think this is one of the I mean, there were some games that did this on the PlayStation, but this one was 480p, which was like also kind of cutting edge for like a console display.
Nolan, I'm pretty sure that this was only one of the 2 PS1 games
there were
that
2.
used that high resolution mode.
What was the other one? Do you know? I feel like
No.
it was a popular game. Anyways, so those 2 things tell me that was the idea of the game, and that's it. At least in
Sure. Yeah, no, I think they had... And I think it's a big experiment. I think
It
that
is.
they were trying to do something... This is my guess. Square Positron reached out to Square, said we're trying something crazy, and we've got these fun ideas, and this is what it's like. And Square was inspired enough to say, yeah, we'll put a little bit of money into that to put this out and see what happens with it. And nothing really happened with it.
Yeah.
But I think it did what it was supposed to do. It was an experiment. It got to the people that it was supposed to get to. They had fun with it. We didn't even talk about, but like the main playlist that's being played is this like upbeat
like jungle.
techno house. Like,
yeah, it's sick.
It's like,
Yeah, the built-in soundtrack is good enough that if you don't substitute in your own CD, you're not going to feel like you're lacking.
Sure.
It works.
What if-
100%.
what
And
if-
it matches the vibe of the game.
If you didn't put in a CD, there's no soundtrack. It's just noises.
and no enemies
the-
either. It's just
yeah,
colors.
it's just the game until you
Which-
put music in.
Oh, dude, hold on. This is so experimental, and it might have been for people that take drugs, because there are different modes that we didn't even talk about. One of them is
yeah.
full auto, where the game plays itself. You sit there, and I think you have your drug trip while it's
the
happening all
point?
around you. I think it's so you can have drugs and then watch it. That's what it is.
That was for drug addicts.
It is very
To-
vibey and trippy. I could put this on in the background at a party.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
In full auto mode, and it like be the thing on the TV.
Kenny has
back
a
in the
lot
days
of
of, like-
experience with parties.
Yeah,
Back in the days of Winamp and all of those things where you were just playing music and wanted some visuals to go along with it, like it was a deal.
Wait. We've been
Revelation.
hypnotized.
From this game?
Yeah, this
You
game
think there's secret like encoded messages?
It
that
hypnotized us to give it New Game Plus.
Ooh, that's a good theory.
Yeah, we'll see.
If you want a copy of this game, are PlayStations locked geographically? I would imagine so, right?
Yes,
I believe so. You need a Japanese PlayStation console
But
if you're playing
very
it on
attainable.
original hardware.
To play this game. I would have thought it would be a lot more. It's only $28 used or loose. It's $90 new.
That's cheap.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
You also will need a full collection of your own personal
That's
CDs
it.
to play with it as well.
We're all thinking the same. So yeah, go out to your local what was that
Where?
mall shop? The one in the mall. that sold
You're
CDs.
thinking like Sam Goody
Yeah,
or
Sam
something
Goody.
back in the day?
You go to your local Sam Goody.
I've still got my zip binder that I used to have in my car that has all
Yeah.
my CDs in it.
Really? Like they're in there?
Yeah.
Oh, you should sell that for $5 online, baby.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. The vote does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I'll begin by saying I don't think this game does anything inherently wrong. I think there's a lot of fun, good ideas here. I didn't disenjoy playing the game this week. However, there wasn't anything that fully clicked to cause me to have returning fun. There's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing great about it either. It's just I'm going back to the word that I've used a few times. It's just an experiment. And even me, out of us three that probably enjoy these shooters more or most, I still didn't find there to be enough there. Maybe with the tube, the psychedelics, and the 12 weapons, there was something, but they didn't didn't perform all the way that they needed to. The main problem with the 12 weapons being having to swap through all of them and not all of them being necessary. Nolan mentioned it, but you'll find 2 or 3 and then you'll kind of just stay there. I thought it was nice, and we didn't even mention it, but there's even an option to go into your weapon loadout and move them around so that they can't, if you've got 2 or 3, you can put them right by each other. That's super nice. They thought through a lot of things here. With the added CD, I'm on the verge of giving it New Game Plus status, but I just don't think I had enough fun with it, and I don't think most people will have enough fun with it. So while while I'm totally fine if people give it New Game Plus status, I don't. It just misses that because it's just not good enough. So no New Game Plus status from me.
Kids don't do drugs.
Correct.
That's good advice.
That includes playing this game. Is
one and the same.
Is not good. And I know I'm usually a pretty big hater when it comes to this genre, but like this one didn't even scratch the itch that is sometimes there for me with the shmup. Like, because I enjoy good shmups, but this one, it didn't offer anything to me past the like novelty, and that's all this is a big novelty bomb of 12 weapons. Cool, I'm on board. Okay. Then I noticed that the enemy patterns aren't all that interesting. The enemies themselves aren't all that interesting. They're not even really enemies. They're shapes, and way too much going on the screen. Like, literally dizzy. We mentioned it earlier, and it actually is not pleasant to look at. And then the novelty of the CD thing. Like, I think that's cool. It's an idea. They executed it. It's not enough reason to play the game if it's not fun, right? So, no. I can understand why it wasn't brought to other countries. Or even re-released on like the PlayStation Network. They do that all the time too, but that didn't even happen here. It's physical only in Japan, and I can see why. And no New Game Plus.
Oh, okay. So you did not have fun.
No,
Wow.
no. If I haven't made that clear, I appreciated a lot of the novelty, and like I kept being like, "Oh, I'm about to have fun," and then I didn't have fun. So no.
Okay, Kenny.
It's always nice being in a place where your vote doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's liberating. I don't know what to feel about this game. This game made me feel things, but odd, bizarre, unexpected things. It's a strange title that like is so hard to nail down. Okay, so I wish there was more strategy and decision making. It needed something to make me feel more engaging. Here's what it is. This game doesn't feel like a shooter. It feels like a vibe simulator.
Yeah, it's for the vibes.
If you want to sit down and chill out and just like
Smoke weed.
No, don't do
relax. Yeah, no, you don't. There's no drugs involved in my version of this vibe. But you just want to like relax and just like have a chilled moment of experience. I think this game might really do some things for you. Don't play it if you get motion sickness. Don't play it if you get epilepsy. It's crazy. But it does what it does well. It's experimental and strange, and it works. And though it's not my genre, it does so good at the just like sit down and chill out and like have a moment thing that I found myself like wanting to come back and just like play through a level, even if it was the same level again. So I'm going to be the outlier and say NGP here. Good enough at being the weird little niche thing that it is that people may want to check it out.
L.
Regardless of your vote for New Game Plus status, 2/3 said otherwise. So IS, by the way, bad name.
Terrible.
Internal section, even worse.
Still bad. Still bad.
Yeah, no, terrible
Colon
name.
energy.
Is not New Game Plus certified. The first one that is not, since Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Been on a run
Wow,
there.
we've been hitting some good games then.
What did you think on YouTube? I think we've got a record here.
What?
Yeah, and
Okay,
I think
I know what it is.
I think I think we got a record just recently too. Maybe Pikmin had a lot of people that said yes, but here's the thing. On YouTube, 3% said yes, it's worth playing today. 5% said no. 92% have never played it before.
Absolutely.
92.
I'm actually surprised it's as low as it is. No one has heard of this game.
Yeah. This is one of those like out there. You know, sometimes we come across like these hidden gems. This is hidden. This is
hidden. This is nobody's favorite game.
We haven't even mined it out of the mountain fully yet. It's still half stuck in there.
A few wrote in this week. Last week with Pikmin, dozens and dozens of people that played along and wrote in. This week, a lot less. I wonder why. Here are a few thoughts. Shane said, this is certainly a weird game. Seems easier than most shmups I've experienced, and it has a huge variety of weapons. However, I'd argue it's almost too much. Maybe with more play, I could have figured it out, but I couldn't keep straight what all of them do in my head. Eventually, I could maybe use the loadout system to just make a smaller group that's one of ones that I enjoy, but I just don't feel like playing anymore. Hearing about this allowing custom music from CDs made me see if I could find a way to emulate that. Playing this to Megalovania feels like it be a fun novelty, but I just couldn't figure it out, sadly. I think the game is fine, but not worthy of NGP status.
That would have to be a one-off feature that an emulator would have to choose to like implement for the game IS.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we have this feature. Crickets.
Harold said, I always find it very cool when we get to... No, hold on. Sorry, I can't go past that because Monster Rancher, Kenny would be all up in that, dropping in new CDs to find new monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Was it Monster Rancher 2 we played in the dorm room?
Yeah, it was Monster Rancher 2. But
missed those days.
Yeah, you dropped CDs in there.
Harold
it was great.
Said, I always find it very cool when we get to play games that are obscure and unreleased outside of Japan. Internal Section is basically a scrolling shooter, but with a twist. You move through a tube so that your projectiles could move in a different way from you than you might expect. The graphics are also something I've never seen before. The game is psychedelic, mind-bending, kaleidoscopic, and very saturated in both color and presence. The creators must have been on some kind of helping substance while putting together this trippy experience. All in all, it sure was a unique experience to play the game this week. This is one of those games where being in the NGP Discord community really has added value. Ooh. I would encourage you to look up a little gameplay just to see the strangeness of it. But once you've seen it, and that might be the main reason for not personally giving it NGP status.
I like that little Discord plug.
Absolutely. I think because in Discord this week, although not everybody was playing it, there were a lot of like researchers this week going in and finding out like why this game exists and what, you know, and all
this real?
Unique things. Right.
Chat, is this real?
And we needed that. This one was so obscure that you can't even find all of the information about the game like on the Wikipedia page.
You know,
it's
I don't even think the developer has a Wikipedia page.
No, you had to dig.
Fun. Sometimes I'll see after I've taken my show notes. I'll watch sometimes a review or two, or at least I'll look on YouTube to see if people are talking about it, what they say. I wasn't able to find a single video review of IS internal section. Not
Dang.
One, which
there's some gameplay footage.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, so then we'll pop up when people search for it.
Hey? When people search
97% of people don't know they should be searching for it.
We should get a Japanese translator to translate this episode so that Japanese people can search it.
Okay, let's do
it.
Okay.
That's an idea of all the ideas ever.
Arigato.
Clint said internal section is a neat concept, but not much more than that. For the sheer weapon diversity you have, a lot of those weapons often aren't useful, and there seems to be a pretty unfair weight on how many hits you get out of something like tiger or snake compared to rabbit or ox. The amount of balance for the player also accentuates how little variety there is in the incoming attacks, which are almost solely represented by straightforward red arrows that are pretty mindless to dodge. The game isn't hard and feels like it tries to make up for that with some annoying systems like the spinning tiles at the end of phases, which I found made completing stages nearly impossible more often than not. I didn't have a bad time with this, but I struggle to recommend it.
Yeah, I'm not recommending this. What shooter would you in place of it? Because it's not, again...
We haven't played many tube shooters.
I know,
we played 0 tube shooters on the show until now, so...
It's not even a real genre.
I think we would have to link it to rail shooters and just suggest a rail shooter.
Exactly.
Or some kind of weird, like... kaleidoscopic game that's not even a shooter. I don't know.
Fun fact, real quick: Resogun, that PS4 game I was talking about, is the first game I ever platinumed, all the trophies.
NGP lore
It's
unlocked.
sick.
Wow.
Let's do one more. Turtle said this game is really good.
Turtle.
Feeling like an updated version of Tempest 2000 with the style of Rez.
I've seen
This
that
game, with its completely unique visuals and gameplay, is unlike anything you can play anywhere else. It has some weaknesses. There are too many weapons, though personally I used more than I thought I would. It's very short, about 1 hour, and it can be hard on the eyes sometimes. The game is filled with more variety than people give it credit for, with maze sections, a fair amount of enemies, a bunch of mini bosses, awesome bosses, and a sliding puzzle. This, to me, at least makes it a small but very enjoyable game. NGP from me.
Well, here's
I
the
got
thing.
somebody in my camp.
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
forgot
you
you
did
gave
just-
it NGP. How did we
I
forget that?
did.
Because I
mean,
assumed.
not-
I assumed.
Not enthusiastically.
I think Kenny.
But I did.
I think Kenny sometimes when he's last will just go against the grain because he knows that he can.
Maybe that was a little bit of the sprinkle in there, Kenny.
No, I didn't change my answer. It is in my
I should
notes.
let you go second, by the way, anyways, to build suspense.
Thank you for it's really on Kenny because we don't know what each other is voting for, so Kenny should have
Right.
stepped in.
That is. Yeah.
Listen, for now, we are setting aside IS internal section. And Nolan, just so you know, it's not even a colon. It's a dash. It's lowercase I, capital S, space dash space, lowercase internal
That's an
section.
M dash.
It's an M dash.
That's the only game in the world with the M dash in the title. You heard it here first.
I don't know about.
No, you heard it here first.
Okay, you heard it here first. We are going to be randomly selecting the next game, the next retro game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days from our retro master list. It could be anything. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be from 1870.
It could be our external
It could be.
area.
That one sounds not
so
not
dumb,
enjoyable.
I liked it.
Colon.
Randomizing now. I'm not entirely sure if we've done this before or if we've even been
no.
able to do this before.
Not another first.
We might have. I know that we have done it unofficially. Let me explain. We're going to be playing a remake, which is weird that we are a retro gaming podcast, that the game is
Yeah, we've run into that.
new enough. Well, no, like Shadow of the Colossus. That was that's the one that I'm thinking of. I played the remake. But we were playing the original.
We played Resident Evil 1 remake,
Ooh.
specifically that one.
That was a director pull, though, right?
Yeah, it was.
But
Yeah, but we've done it.
rarely. This is a remake. Someone put in the remake for us to play. It is a remake of an original Mega Drive game, but the remake was released for the Dreamcast in 2000.
Okay,
Do I?
that's still easily retro. A few of these where it's the remake, it's right on the limit of our 15-year rule, and we're like, 2000 is easily retro in my mind.
It is an action role-playing game, which we don't even know what that means anymore with ARPG
We
and action
don't.
role-playing game. Instead of using standard turn-based battles, fights are in a similar format to 2D fighting games, Nolan.
I kind of like this already.
The game is called Rent a Hero #1.
I'm leaving. I'm done.
See, I'm the opposite. It sounds cheesy, but the title has me totally intrigued.
Rent a Hero.
Rent a Hero for the Dreamcast. Why did I say it like that? For the Dreamcast.
Rental Hero.
Why are you saying Rental Hero? That is not what it is.
I know.
He's just trying to confuse people.
Playing this.
Find a copy of Rent a Hero No.1, assuming #1. Why would it be no, why would it
Why do
be
these titles suck?
why is NO number?
It's always been no for number.
That doesn't make any sense. It should be NU. Find a copy
No,
for
that's worse.
the Dreamcast. Play it along with us for the next 7 days.
Because numero uno. We have a Discord server, and you should be a part of it. It was mentioned earlier. And I would just like to shout out a couple people. that have joined recently. We always like to make people feel welcome. So let me turn off streamer mode and say hello to Riff Dimash Q. And let me...
Nailed it.
You think so? And then let me say
Yeah.
welcome to... I should have written it down. Sir Busts a Lot. Thank you for joining Discord, and I hope that many of you also decide to. We need to hit 3K. We're on the brink. See y'all there.
I'm also full of dance moves because I want to celebrate our list of supporters on patreon.com, including our newest patrons who are joining us for the first time this week, Landale and official WNBA.
Hey, what?
Thank you for your support.
All the girls?
And all the apparently every single one of the WNBA players support the show or something. Of course, we want to say a huge thank you to our director level supporters who go truly above and beyond. Brojim, Garlisle, Super Hypered. You guys are the heroes we would rent if we were forced to. And thank you to our large list of producer-level supporters as well, including Adam, Alex, Marley, and Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, DH Bowser, Alice, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Clint, Knick-Knack, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Not Enough Dog, Pedro, Replicated Flame, Sajin, Sarah, Shane, Shauna, Psycho Mantis, Thomas Turtle, Unbedavable, Siegfried, and Zion. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your support. We so appreciate it.
You can follow us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Rent a Hero #1. Until then, I'm still Dragon Army.
I'm still Bird.
I just realized that Kenny can never shave his beard because Kenny's beard will drop off from support if that happens because they're so committed to the meme.
I would never shave the beard anyways. No one has to fear.
And this has been New Game Plus.